What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the CaliKidOfficial Podcast. This is episode number 29, so let's get right into it. So this past weekend, The Rock, along with a couple of other business partners, made a big splash by acquiring the XFL. If you don't know, it was pretty much like an NFL alternative. You know, the hits were more brutal, so this was kind of like an alternative to the NFL. But unfortunately, you know, due to the COVID, it was forced to close down, which put it in a state to where it had to file for bankruptcy. So The Rock, along with his business partner Danny Garcia and Jerry Cardinale of the Redbird Capital company, purchased the XFL for $15 million. The company, you know, of course, was originally founded by Vince McMahon. That was pretty much like his brainchild. So they had to sell it, and it had $10 to $15 million in liabilities. So they scooped this up. So they plan on revitalizing it, and they expect to possibly put forth a season next year, albeit in maybe a bubble due to the COVID not being fully contained. But it says the XFL declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy April 13th and has been seeking a buyer for the past 3 months, marketing itself as a made-for-TV product that could transition as early as 2021 to a bubble concept during the coronavirus pandemic. So this should be interesting. It's like The Rock is still living, he's living his Ballers character, because this is one of the things that he did towards the end of the Ballers series. He ended up purchasing a stake in the Kansas City Chiefs, and lo and behold, in real life, he purchases an entire, you know, football organization. So it should be interesting to see, you know, what they do with this going forward. Also in the news, we had some unfortunate news overseas in Lebanon. Apparently there was some type of explosion. They're saying that it was triggered by a large amount of ammonium nitrate, which when lit on fire is very volatile. So it's saying that apparently they were housing it in a warehouse next to some fireworks. They said it was 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, and the impact from it was so devastating. Several hundred people were unfortunately killed by it, and thousands were injured. And they said that it was heard from, you know, miles away, and it also triggered an earthquake. And you know, it's very unfortunate, you know, for something like this to happen. This is very this is going to be on somebody's head for being negligent. This is like one of the highest level of negligence, if you ask me. I'm not going to play the video because I'm sure, you know, everyone has seen it, but the you know, the output from it was so strong, it was like that of a bomb. So hopefully, you know, they can recover from this. From what I was reading, the region was already you know, in a state of economic crisis, and now you have something like this. And I also was reading that there was other explosions and fires in different parts of the world around the same time. So, you know, people might tie that into some type of conspiracy. Maybe this was some type of, you know, coordinated attack. We don't know, but the story that's being put out there is that this was basically negligence, and that the warehouse caught on fire some type of way, and then it spread on over and causes huge explosion. You know, it's very unfortunate that happened. You know, prayers out to the families that, you know, were affected by this, and going forward, hopefully, you know, something like this doesn't happen again, that this situation is better handled. But moving on from that, earlier this week, on Wednesday, Jake Paul's mansion was raided by the FBI around 6 a.m. So if you guys don't know, you know, a lot of rumors were going around saying, oh, this is because maybe he was a drug dealer and all this other type of goofy stuff. But apparently they raided his home due to his connection to the Scottsdale incident, which was back during the George Floyd riots and protesting. He was at a mall, and rather than, not entering the mall while it was being looted, he, along with, two other people, entered the mall and basically were video recording, the mall being looted and whatnot. So he was charged with, unlawful assembly and trespassing, but the Scottsdale PD dropped the charges so that the federal government can investigate, criminally. So that's how the FBI got involved. They said they dropped the charges without prejudice, but I was also reading that they could possibly refile them, which doesn't really make too much sense, because if you drop the charges with prejudice, that means that you're not, in a position to, re-look into the case. So it says the FBI is clarifying how the raid of Jake Paul's mention connects to the popular YouTuber's part in George Floyd's protests. Earlier this year, fans saw the internet celebrity destroying property and streaming the scene in Scottsdale's Fashion Square. The FBI is saying that Paul's house is a direct result of that video. The FBI is investigating allegations of criminal acts surrounding the incident at Scottsdale Fashion Square. The Bureau explained to the publication, this comes as the latest bizarre series of stunts for the viral star. He was scheduled to box former NBA star Nate Robinson. I mean, that's going to probably most likely get pushed back due to the backlash. When things happen, companies don't want to be tied to a problem. So more than likely, they're probably going to be taken off the undercard. It says, when Paul's Calabasas mansion was raided today, authorities found multiple guns and confiscated them. Pictures from local media show multiple shotguns and rifle being carried out by officers on tape. The reason why they confiscated the guns is because the house was unoccupied, and therefore they said that they didn't want, somebody to get their hands on them because the house was unoccupied and no one was there. So they took them for safekeeping, but he can retrieve them if he choose to, and he has to prove that he actually owned them. So they wasn't there for guns and that. They were there investigating due to that incident in Arizona. So, and he's also been in the news because he's been throwing parties and stuff, and the neighbors have been upset by that. But people are allowed to do whatever they want to do on their property. That's their right. If they want to put their life in danger, that's on them. So, and of course, you have other people commenting on it. But that's all we pretty much have from that. We're probably not going to get too much more information because from what I was also reading, they said that it was a sealed warrant, and usually when they do that, that's so that they can build a case against an individual, and then once they unseal it, you get a full breakdown of why a particular warrant was issued or whatever. So we'll just have to monitor that situation. Moving into music, we had some bad news out of Chicago. One of the rappers by the name of FBG Duck was murdered, in broad daylight in the downtown region of Chicago known as Gold Coast. So apparently he was shopping with some friends. Two cars pulled up with four males. One of the cars was a Chrysler 300 and the other was a Ford Taurus. It was reported that four men exited the vehicle and began opening fire. As much as 17 shots were fired, and Duck, along with him and another person, were hit. Duck was hit in the throat, the groin, and the stomach. The woman that was with him was hit in the hand, and the other male that was with him was hit in the back and the side. Duck unfortunately didn't survive his injuries. The other two are in critical condition from what is being reported. And the reason that this happened is because he put out a record basically dissing, his rival gang's members that died. And so this was pretty much retaliation. This is something that constantly plagues Chicago. This person died, so they make a diss record, and it's just like a back and forth hamster wheel type of thing. And all this situation is going to do is antagonize more bloodshed. There's going to be retaliation for this. And if you ask me, I don't understand why people continue to engage in disrespecting, other people and not thinking something's not going to happen. So this was an after effect of that. You You can't go around dissing people and making fun of people when they die and stuff like that and not expect some backlash, because he's been hit before and he survived those injuries. But and then from what I was reading, they said that he was online basically streaming his location. And if you dissing people, you should be expecting some backlash, and you basically giving people the drop on you. And this was a situation where things didn't work out in his favor, and now you have another dead Chicago rapper over some senseless gun violence. And it's just going to continue to escalate. But it says, the article is saying, this retaliation is not just about gang members, it's about the collateral damage. Yeah, because you're going to have other people caught in a crossfire of their back and forth killing. It says at 3:26 p.m. Tuesday, FBG Duck, whose real name is Quinton Weekly, was standing with another man on the sidewalk near 70 East Oak Street between Rush Street and Michigan Avenue when people in a black Ford Taurus and silver Chrysler 300 drove up, police said. 4 gunmen got out, walked up, and fired shots, hitting the man and a woman who was sitting in a nearby car. Weekly, 26, was killed. A 36-year-old man was hit in his back and side and was taken to Northwestern in serious condition. Police said a 28-year-old woman was shot in her left hand. Police said her condition was unknown, but she was listed as stable. After the shooting on Tuesday, OSHA described the incident as a targeted shooting. Yeah. Police have also said they are investigating if Weekly, described as a member of the Gangster Disciples, was killed by rival black disciples for a video he produced in which he dissed rival gang members who died. That's exactly what happened. These Chicago rappers, they kill people and then they brag about it in their records, and then the other side come back and do the same thing. It's like, I don't know. But if anything, if you a rapper in Chicago and you get big, you need to move out of Chicago, because it's not safe. It's not safe. But moving on from this into the verses, we had 2 Chainz versus Rick Ross. As I was saying last week, depending on what records were played would determine who would win, and it's looking as though it was a lot closer than one might think. So round 1, Ross started the battle off first. Round 1, we had BMF, which is Blowing Money Fast, versus No Lie. I gave that one to Ross. Round 2, we had Hustlin' versus I'm Different. I gave that to Ross. Round 3, we had John versus Fucking Problems. I gave that to Ross. Round 4, we had Rich Forever versus Spend It. I gave that to Chainz. So we had 3-1 Ross. Round 5, we had Dice Pineapples versus Duffel Bag Boy. I gave that to Chainz. That song. If I ain't gonna do it, I'm about. I'm counting all day like a crack on the wall. I gotta get your money, little Duffel Bag Boy. That shit is hard. Round 6, we had MC Hammer versus Let 'Em Strippers. I gave that to Chainz. Round 7, we had Aston Martin Music versus Super Freak. I gave that to Ross. So right now we at 4-3 Ross. Round 8. Now round 8, they started bringing out the props. So round 8, we had Santorini Grease versus Bands to Make Her Dance, and Chainz brought out some strippers and was making it rain or whatever. I gave that round to Chainz. Round 9, we had I'm a Boss Remix versus Rich as Fuck. I like both of those records, so I gave that a tie. Round 10, we had Freemason versus Feds Watching. I gave that to Chainz. Round 11, we had The Boss versus Good Drink. I gave that to Ross. Round 12, we had Fuck With Me, Know I Got It versus Watch Out. I gave that a tie. Both of those records be hitting. Round 13, Ross countered with the props. Before the song was introduced, he had a woman come out giving him a massage and shit. That was funny. But he played Devil in a New Dress versus 4 a.m. I gave that one to Chainz. Then round 14, we had Tears of Joy versus Big Amount. I gave that to Chainz. Round 15, we had Stay Scheming versus All Me. I gave that to Ross. Round 16, we had Pop That Remix versus It's a Vibe. I gave that to Ross. Round 17, we had I'm On One versus You Don't Want No Problems. I gave that one to Chainz. Round 18, we had I'm Not a Star versus Birthday Song. I gave that to Chainz. Round 19, we had Mafia Music versus Big Bank. I get that to Ross. And then round 20, Ross played 2 records. He played Rich Off Cocaine and his verse from Famous, and Chainz played Mercy, and I gave that one to Chainz. I thought Mercy was a better record than those two. So after 20 rounds, I had it 10-8-2 with Chainz winning by 2 rounds. So those 2 ties could go to Ross, or those 2 ties could go to Chainz, but the battle was a lot closer than many people probably thought it would be. I think some of the rounds, Ross kind of took his foot off the pedal. This battle kind of reminds me of very similar to the Fab and Jada, as I was saying that, you know, many people thought Fab was going to watch Jada because he has those big commercial records. But it also depends on how you play the records. And, you know, Chainz did his thing and he ended up scraping by. So it could have went either way, but I had it 10-8-2. Then we got some bonus rounds. So after round 20, round 21, we had Live Fast, Die Young versus Crack. If we graded these rounds, that would adjust the score. So round 21, Live Fast, Die Young versus Crack, I would get at the Chainz. Then the next round we had Made Men versus Bees in the Trap. I would get at the Chainz. Then we had Was Free versus New Chainz's new single called Moneymaker. Both of those was dope. Many probably would give that to Ross with the Was Free. So that one would probably be one for Ross. And then we had Ross play his new single called Pin Me to the Cross. And on his record, he's taking shots at Terry Crews. And then it ends with Ross playing the record Fuck 'Em. So if you add up those bonus records, you know, Chainz still edges it out. So, but it was pretty interesting. The energy, though, was kind of lackluster from what Chainz was seeing. He prepared heavily for this bout, but he's saying that he was trying to go off of the energy of Ross. And so, like he said, he didn't want to be too out there, so that's why the energies was so relaxed or whatever. But, you know, after Snoop and DMX did their battle, it pretty much took it to a whole nother level in terms of being engaging and very energetic. So it's kind of hard to go after that, but it was pretty interesting. I wonder who they're gonna do next. What they were saying in the comments, they're trying to get Kanye versus Drake. I don't see that happening because they got beef. So if they able to get them into a room together, that'd be a miracle. Drake was in the comments because at one point it was like a Drake off because they was both playing their records with Drake throughout the battle, which was pretty interesting. What round was that? Probably, yeah, round three. Round 3, Drake was on that fucking Problems record, I think. Aston Martin, he was on that one. That's pretty much that. Also in music, apparently the end of YBN Collective is official. So YBN nahmir basically went online and said that the group is no more, that, you know, they're all doing their own thing. So if you don't know, YBN was basically a collective of YBN nahmir, YBN Cordae, and YBN Almighty J. They pretty much came together over them playing on Xbox Live, so they decided to get together to make music. Nahmir was the one that pretty much blew up and put the group on the map with that single Rubbing on the Paint. And then, you know, Cordae was like the lyricist of the group. Almighty J was like the party turn up portion of the group, and then, you know, Nahmir was kind of like the street element in a sense. But apparently they've all gone their separate ways. So he says, they left this YBN shit in the gutter. Remember that, I'll turn it up myself. And then a fan says, wait, what? And then Nahmir says, yeah, it's only me, kid. I mean, Cordae is really the only one whose career has, you know, elevated out of the group. The other two haven't really had as much success as they've had, you know, earlier within the group. Cordae, you know, his project, his last album was nominated for a Grammy. So, you know, his career is steady elevating. You know, Almighty J, he's still doing music and stuff, but it hasn't, you know, it hasn't hit. So, you know, those things typically happen when you're in a group. The members want to do the solo thing, They feel maybe the group hampers them down, and it is what it is. Moving on from that into sports, way back, I believe that was in May of last year or so. A couple of football players found themselves in trouble for apparently engaging in an armed robbery. So charges have been filed. So it says Giants Deandre Baker charged with 4 counts of armed robbery with a firearm. Quinton Dunbar not charged. So apparently both members were at some house a couple of days prior. They lost about $70,000 from gambling. I'm guessing they got upset by this and decided to rob a party where apparently people had valuable, jewelry and whatever. And they pulled up in exotic cars, which was stupid. It says coroner Deandre Baker has been charged with 4 counts of robbery with a firearm, per Broward State Attorney Mike Satz. If convicted, the punishment will be 10 years minimum and up to life in the state prison. It's like, why would you throw your life away over 70 bands when you gonna make that? You gonna make that back? You should have just took the L, but you let your pride get in the way and you engaged in some dumb shit, and now your life is over. And his attorney is trying to he was playing a video game as a defense, that they're going to try to use the electronic data from a video game to prove as an alibi. But you guys are on camera, as well as the vehicles that you guys pulled up in. So even if you didn't engage in it, your cars were there. And then I'm pretty sure you got several witnesses that can identify them, especially if they wasn't, wearing face masks or whatever. But his accomplice, Quinton Dunbar, apparently there's no charges being levied against him due to a lack of evidence. But he's more than likely going to be put on the NFL's exemption list, and he's going to face some type of suspension. But for Baker, it's looking like his career is over, pretty much. It says the alleged crime happened in mid-May when Baker was accused of pulling out a gun at a Miami area party after flipping up over a card table. He then allegedly told Dunbar and a third person to start collecting valuables from the partygoers. A few nights earlier, Baker and Dunbar reportedly lost $70,000 while playing cards at a separate party. Got a gambling addiction. Baker and Dunbar both surrendered to police after warrants were issued for their arrest and made bond a day later. At the time, they were both facing 4 counts of armed robbery, and Baker was facing 4 more counts of armed robbery with a firearm. Baker and Dunbar pleaded not guilty. Baker's attorney Patrick Patel has presented an alibi for his client. He was playing Madden at the time. Patel told the New York Post that Baker brought his own game console to the party in question and was in an entirely different room when the robbery took place. Patel said he intended to seek electronic proof that Baker was playing Madden at the time of the robbery. Well, if that proof don't work out, he's looking donezo. If found guilty, Baker will face a minimum of 10 years. That's crazy. It's like you basically threw your life away for some dumb shit. But moving on from that, a lot has been going on in the NBA bubble. In particular, Bol Bol, he made his debut. He's been showing that he has a lot of versatility, able to hit threes and whatnot. But apparently he made the highlight reel for getting posterized by Nurkic, I believe, from the Nuggets, or from Portland. So right here it says that he got posterized. And he's a tall dude, about 7'4", I do believe. His dad was like 7'7".
Murray was out warming up today. He went through a number of drills, but unable to go. Nurkic in on court.
I mean, that was a light slam. That was light.
Got up there, kept the hands down, and let Nurk put him in a poster.
Put him in a poster. That was light.
Bol just kind of got up.
That was light. Also in the news, is looking like the Lakers might be in some trouble. LeBron is suffering from a lingering groin injury. This is an injury that that put him out of the season in the previous season as well. So they're pretty much monitoring that situation. And the Lakers have also lost back-to-back games by double-digit figures. So if they don't get that in check when the playoffs start, it's looking like they might get bounced out. So they're going to have to do something about that. I think they lost to the Thunder, and then they turned around and lost to the Rockets. Yeah, they lost to the Rockets as well. But both the Lakers and the Bucks have secured their number one seeds in their respective division. So maybe both teams have kind of like taken a foot off the gas pedal in terms of playing these games seriously. They don't want their players to get injured or whatever. But if this carries over into the playoffs, it's looking like they might be in some trouble. So there's that. And lastly, it's looking like Chris Sales, who's a popular YouTuber, has found himself in another car-related accident. Not too much has been said about the situation. So it says he was reportedly hit by a drunk driver and is not responding to any calls or texts. A lot of people are kind of skeptical because he's known for playing pranks and stuff like that. But I don't see why a person would play a prank to where, their life is in danger or whatever. And it's interesting because this is the second time he's found himself in a car-related accident. I believe it was last year around November he was in an accident. The only info we've gotten is that it was like a fender bender. The interesting about it is like a lot of YouTubers have been finding themselves in car accidents. We had B. Lou, he was in a car accident, which was crazy. He pretty much totaled his car. DJ Ghost, he was in an accident recently. It's like what the hell is going on? It's like something crazy is going on in the air. So hopefully he's all right. Hopefully this isn't a hoax. You know how they had that saying, the boy who cried wolf. So that's probably why a lot of people ain't really thinking too much of this. But if something did happen, hopefully he's okay. And y'all gotta be careful when y'all in these cars. A lot of these people, they be speeding and shit and getting into car accidents and stuff. There's like 3 entertainers in car accidents, kind of like back to back to back in like a span of a couple of weeks of each other. It's kind of crazy, but that's going to pretty much do it for this week's podcast. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Before you go, make sure you leave a like and a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, Anchor, and everywhere else, I also appreciate you all for tuning in. And until the next one, peace.